Hello, welcome back. Today we are continuing. Last time we met, we were talking about the cell, and we were saying a cell is a basic building block, okay, for a living organism. Or in a living organism, the basic building block is the cell. Is from the cell that you build on until we have the whole organism at the end of the day. So let's look at what adds up to that. Okay, so today we are looking at the organization at the tissue level. Okay, and in our presentation today, our objective would be to characterize where the tissues fall in the levels of organization. Okay, so we are introducing the tissues. The human body is organized at several levels of scale that can be examined. Okay, it is organized from several levels, that is from cellular level up to organismal level. The human body has many levels of structural organization, which include atoms, cells, tissues, organs, and organ systems. Then we have an organism, a complete organism at the end of the day. The simplest level is the chemical level, which includes tiny blocks such as the atoms. Therefore, in this lecture, the key terms that we are going to find are terms such as the cell. Again, we are starting the discussion from the cellular level, such as the cell. So the cell, by definition, in this presentation, the cell, we shall be referring to it as the smallest functional unit of life. Okay, that is the cell. The tissue are groups of similar cells that have a common function. Group of similar cells with common function are referred to as the tissue. And an organ is a structure that is composed of at least two or more tissue types and perform a specific set of functions for the body, referred to as an organ. So now I think you should be putting together all this and see where we are going. We are on the organ at the organ level, and now we start talking about the function. Okay, tissues, cells that come up to and perform a similar function. Okay, then an organ, a structure composed of at least two or more tissue types and perform a specific set of functions of the body. Okay, so many organs work together to accomplish a common purpose are called an organ system. Okay, many organs come together to work, when they are put together to work together, they perform what is known as and they make up what is known as an organ system. So tissues in the body, the human body has many levels of structural organization. Therefore, the simplest living creature are single cell structures. But in complex life forms, such as human beings, cells also exist in the tissue level. Tissues are a group of similar cells that have a common function. Okay. Therefore, there are four basic tissues, which are number one, the epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, connective tissue, and the nervous tissue. These are the four basic tissues that make up, that are contained in a human body. Each one of these basic tissues have a specific characteristic role in the body. The first one being that of the epithelial tissue. The epithelium covers the body surfaces and lines the body cavities. So, covers the body surfaces, which is the outside of the body, and it lines the cavities of the body, such as, let's say, the nasal cavities. The nasal cavities are covered by the epithelium inside, the epithelial tissue. Muscles provide movement. Connective tissue supports and protects the body organs. The nervous tissue provides a means of rapid internal communications by transmitting electrical impulses. Under nervous system, that is where we have the brain. Okay, that is where we have the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves. That is where they are contained. Okay, so suffice to take it that organs are made up of tissues. An organ is a structure that is composed of at least 2 or more tissue types and performs a specific set of functions for the body. Examples of organs are such as the liver, the stomach, okay? The stomach, the brain, and blood are all different organs and perform different functions. Each organ is specialized functional center responsible for specific function of the body. Therefore, most organs contain more than one tissue. So you find that some of the organs contain more than one tissue type. For example, the stomach consists of smooth muscles for churning the churning movement while it is innervated. But it is also supplied by blood, which is a connective tissue. So you find that 2 tissue types coming together make up what is known as an organ, and that organ performs a specific function for the body. The next level is the organ system level, where many organs work together to accomplish a common purpose. Okay, many organs work together to accomplish a common purpose. For example, the heart and the blood vessels. Okay, they together make up what is known as the cardiovascular system, okay, which secretes blood and transport oxygen and nutrients to all parts of the body. So these two come together to perform that common function. So if we go by hierarchy, we are going to have a pyramid such as this one, where we say some atoms will come together, atoms, water molecules, just at the top of the pyramid would come together, and a variety of these molecules will combine to form fluid and organelles that are contained in a cell body. Then at the end of the day, we are going to have a cell, which is a functional unit of a living organism, which has organelles in it and all that what makes up a cell, which we discussed. Okay, so when cells are put together, these cells, single cell, when they are put together, since it is a building block, it is known as a building block because it is something that should be added, that which you should add something, another similar of its kind for you to have a complete object. Like here, if we are saying this is a muscle cell, okay, it is a tissue. This is made up of one muscle cell, another muscle cell on top of one cell, there is another one, and they build up what is known as a muscle tissue. So for a muscle cell, you can have a muscle tissue. Therefore, a community of similar cells form a body tissue. This is just an example, but this is what happens in all other cells. Okay? When these tissues come together, 2 or more different tissues combine to form an organ. We already gave an example of the stomach. But when 2 or more tissues come together, they form what is known as an organ. Then we have this organ, which is the bladder. Okay, so this bladder is made up of 2 types of different cells. Okay, those that make up the skeletal muscle cell and those that make up the smooth muscle cell, but they all come together to make one organ that performs a specific function for the body. So when all these are put together, okay, organ system level, when 2 or more organs work closely together to perform the functions of the body system, they make up an organ system, like what we can see here. Okay, here we have an organ system. We have the kidneys here. Okay, we have the kidneys, we have the bladder, we have all this. So this is now an organ system. Many organ systems work harmoniously together to perform the functions of an independent organism. Now, that is what makes up an organism, a human being, since we are looking at human physiology and anatomy. These organ systems put together, they make up the human being. For example, we have a lot of organ systems: the respiratory system, the gastrointestinal system, cardiovascular system, urinary system. All these coming together, they make up an organism, which at this point we are referring to as a human being. Okay. And for this human being to be healthy and to not have complaints of disease or any dysfunction, all these have to be well functional. From cellular level to organ system level, everything has to be well functional. That is when this organism can boast of being in good health. Therefore, in summary here, we can say there are molecules that form up cells. So molecules will form up cells, cells will form up tissues, tissues will form up organs, organs that perform related functions will form up organ systems. Okay? Then organ systems will form up an organism, okay, which is made up of an interconnection of organ systems like the ones that we are just from highlighting. So that is about these levels and their interconnection. So now we can talk about tissues in the levels of organization. Okay, these tissues that we have already introduced in their levels of organization, we said there are four main types. Okay, so we'll start with the epithelial tissue. Characteristics of the epithelial tissue. Therefore, the human tissue, as we have already established, is made up of the four main types, which is the epithelial, connective, muscular, and the nervous. These tissues, you can actually, for the sake of remembering so well, they are not following any order. You can put them in any order that would be easier for you to understand. Okay? If you want, you can just put a mnemonic, okay, to say tissues are made up of these letters. You can actually make a word out of them so that they're easy to remember. Okay? Like from my end, I can say I would start with M, E, C, N. Then you can say when you're talking about the tissues of the human being, you can say they make up the word mechan. Okay, mechan. So meaning you are starting with M, E, C, N. M standing for muscular, connective, epithelial, then nervous system. You are free to do it in whichever way that is easy for you. Or you can actually use the N. N, E, C, M. Okay? Just from maybe, if I can make something from here, I can make a way to say this one will make up necom. Okay? So meaning N, E, ne, then I borrow the M, the O, E, and the M. So I can say, when talking about the tissues of the body, you write the word necom, then you can know to say N in this word necom, when tissues of the body, necom stands for nervous tissue, E stands for epithelial tissue, CO stands for connective tissue, and M stands for muscular tissue. It makes it easier for you to remember and write or remember the things the way they are supposed to be. Epithelial tissues covers the body and lines all the cavities and composes the glands. Okay, that is the composition of epithelial tissue. So we are starting with that. Our interest at the end of the day, our aim is that we should be able to describe the primary function and characteristics of the epithelial cells. Take note of the objectives. At the end of reading this component, you should be able to answer these objectives. Otherwise, this objective, if you look at it, in an assessment, we can even just put marks up here, okay? We can just say maybe describe the primary functions and characteristics of epithelial tissue, 10 marks. We just put 10 marks here, okay? Once those marks are put there, it means the answer of this is what is going to be discussed underneath, okay, in this presentation. So make sure when you finish studying anything that has the objective set up like this one, when you finish studying, reading, or listening, make sure you answer this objective. If you cannot answer this objective appropriately, then know that you have not understood whatever you were doing. The key terms in these presentations are epithelium. The epithelium is a membranous tissue composed of one or more layers of the cells that form the covering of most of the internal and external surfaces of the body and its organs. That is what is referred to as the epithelium. It is the covering, membranous covering composed of one or more layers of cells that form the covering of most internal and external surfaces of the body. Okay? We have also come across the word avascular. Avascular simply meaning lacking of blood vessels. So meaning that area which is avascular does not have blood vessels. The one that has blood vessels is referred to as the vesicular. Okay. Functions of the epithelium. This epithelial tissue forms boundaries. Okay, forms boundaries between different environments, and nearly all substances must pass through this epithelium as needed on the other side. Since it is a cover, it means it allows substances as needed on the other side. Okay, in its role as an interface tissue, epithelium accomplishes many functions, including number one, it protects the underlying structures from substances that might be injurious to the tissue that is underneath, since it is a cover, okay? Such as radiation, toxins, or even trauma. This tissue acts as a protection to the tissues that are underneath. It also works as a layer for absorption. Absorption of substances, like what happens in the digestive system, okay? In the digestive system, it also gives the epithelial layer, allows the absorptive activities to take place, okay? Regulation and excretion of chemicals between the underlying tissue and the body cavities, among the other substances, also secretion of hormones, okay, into the blood and the vascular system, as well as secretion of sweat, mucus, enzymes. In other words, it carries out the role of secretion. Secretion simply means extruding some substances, okay? Extruding some substances or pushing out some substances. That is what is referred to as secretion. And also detection of sensation. Okay, you are in a position to detect and feel sensation when it is hot, warm, and whatever sensation comes across the given epithelium, it has some sensory characteristics which will be able to respond and send appropriate response to the appropriate stimuli for response to the appropriate tissue, such as the brain tissue. Okay. Epithelial tissue is composed of cells laid out in sheets with a strong cell-to-cell attachment. Cell-to-cell attachment. So from one cell, like as we spoke about it earlier on, where we have one cell on top of the other, then it makes up the tissue. And this is what the epithelial tissue is made up of. These protein connections hold the cells together to form a tightly connected layer that is avascular, okay, but innervated in nature. When we say innervated, we mean there is some connection to this tissue with the nervous system, meaning whatever is happening on that tissue, the nervous system gets to know about it and will respond accordingly. The epithelial cells are nourished by substances diffusing from blood vessels in the underlying connective tissue. One side of the epithelial cell is oriented towards the surface of the tissue, body cavity, external. So you find that the covering is always made up of the inner tissue and the interior and the exterior layer. So you find that the nourishment of these epithelial cells is diffusing from the blood vessels that is underneath this tissue. They are the ones that are sending nourishment to the upper covering. Okay. Types of epithelial tissue, they are identified by both the number of layers and shape of the cells in the upper layers. Okay. Epithelial tissues are identified by both the number of layers and the shape of the cells in the upper layers. There are 8 basic types of epithelium. 6 of them are identified based on both the number of cells and their shape. Take note. 6 of them out of the 8 basic types of the epithelium, 6 of them were identified based on both the number of cells and their shape. 2 of them are named by the type of cells that are found in them, such as squamous epithelium. Okay. Epithelial tissue is classified based on the number of cells, shape of those cells, and the type of the cells. So the following are examples of the epithelial tissues that we are talking about. Okay. So let's talk about these epithelial tissues by cells, location, and function. So by classification, those that are classified as simple squamous epithelium. Okay, we heard from classification that others, 2 of them, are named by the type of cell that are found in them, whereby 6 are named by both number of cells and shape. So those that are named by type of cell, amongst them is the simple squamous epithelium. This one, location, it is usually found on air sacs of the lungs and the lining of the heart, blood vessels of the lymphatic vessels, and lymphatic vessels. That's where you find this type of epithelium. Its function is to allow materials to pass through by diffusion and filtration, as well as secrete substances. So we understand that these are the functions that happen in these organs. Then there is also what is known as the simple cuboidal epithelium. So this one is definition by shape. Cuboidal, from the word cube, simple cuboidal. So the shape of the cells. In ducts, that is where it is found. In ducts and secretory portions of small glands and in the kidney tubules. Their function is to secrete and absorb, okay, the substances in these structures, in the ducts and secretory portions of the small glands and the kidney tubules. Others are referred to as the simple columnar epithelium. In the simple columnar epithelium, these are found in the ciliated areas, meaning in areas where there are some structures, hair-like structures, known as cilia, just like we can see on the same cell type. Okay. Simple columnar epithelium, simple columnar, so column, okay, from this shape, simple columnar epithelium, which show some kind of hair-like structures, which are referred to as cilia, from the word cilia. So these are ciliated tissues, including the bronchi. the uterine tubes, the uterus, smooth muscles, okay? The smooth tissues are, which are in the, all right. So we're trying to say in the smooth muscles, those that are found in the digestive tract, they have some cilia, okay? And these cilia are important to increase the surface area for absorption and secretion of mucus enzymes. The next one is pseudostratified epithelium. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium also is ciliated, just as we can see from the picture. Okay, pseudostratified. If you see, the shapes are not as that one, hence the pseudonym. Ciliated tissue lines the trachea and much of the upper respiratory tract. So these ones, they line the trachea and the upper respiratory tract. Their function is to uh, secrete mucus. Usually, that is what we have in those tissues. They secrete mucus, and they are ciliated tissues, which move the mucus substances. Okay, they move the mucus substance. We know in the mucosal area there is movement of mucus from point A to B, and that is done by cilia, which secretes and moves it, which is by these cells in the upper respiratory system. The squamous, stratified squamous epithelium, this is the second one of the squamous ones, if you are following, lines the esophagus, the mouth, and the vagina, okay? Those epithelium in these organs protects against abrasion, okay? It protects the surfaces against abrasions. Stratified cuboidal epithelium, there is a shape there, okay? It's found in the structures of the sweat glands, the linings of the sweat glands, the salivary glands, and the mammary glands. And these function to protect the tissues. Others are known as stratified columnar epithelium. There's a shape there, okay? The male urethra and the ducts of some glands are where they are found, and their job is to secrete and protect. Transitional epithelium lines the bladder, urethra, and ureters, allows the urinary organs to expand and stretch. As urine gets to fill the bladder keeps on expanding so that it accommodates large quantities of urine, and actually then triggers to you that the bladder is getting full and you need to void it. You need to empty the bladder and it will expand. It is made up of those tissues. So those tissues are very important. They are must know. Okay. So you are required to classify the epithelial tissue by shape and layers, and these are the key terms that we have some of them lined up. So if you are to talk about their shape, we shall find the simple columnar cells, which are the columnar epithelium that are unilayered, pseudostratified epithelium, a type of epithelium that, though comprising only a single layer of cells, has its nuclei, okay, its cell nuclei positioned in a manner suggestive of stratified epithelium, hence the name pseudo. Pseudo means something not original, okay? Squamous epithelium, flattened and scale-like, cuboidal, resembling a cube, keratinized to produce or become like keratin, columnar having the shape of a column, okay? Most simple squamous epithelial cells describes a single layer, simple squamous, a single layer of cells that are flat and scale-like in shape. And these are what they look like. Simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboid epithelium, so many single layer, and these are stratified epithelia, okay? All right, so epithelial tissue have three principal classifications associated with the epithelial cells. They, as squamous epithelium, has cells that are wider than they are taller. The cuboidal epithelium has cells whose height and width are approximately the same. Therefore, the columnar epithelium also has cells that are taller than wider. Simple epithelium consists of a single layer, and they are typically they work to absorb, secrete, and filter. So this is basically what we have already highlighted. We have just enhanced the notes here for your understanding. Okay. Yeah, so we basically, this is what we have talked about. The only thing that we have not touched from the presentation that we have from our presentation is the keratinized epithelium. Okay, the keratinized epithelium. In keratinized epithelium, the most apical layers, which are the exterior layers of the cells, are dead and lose their nucleus and cytoplasm. They contain a tough-resistant protein called keratin. This specialization makes the epithelium waterproof and it is abundant in mammalian skin. Okay, so this is the type of layer that makes up the skin, our skin, human skin. The lining of the esophagus is an example of a non-keratinized or moist stratified epithelium. So if you were to compare the lining of the esophagus and the lining of and the surface of the skin, you find that they are different. That one is non-keratinized, the other one is keratinized. Okay, so keratinized simply coming from keratin, which is a substance that gives us that lines up that makes up the exterior layer of the skin. Transitional epithelia are found in the tissues that stretch, and this is an example we gave of the tissues that are found in the bladder, those that are able to stretch and accommodate some more substances in them as you are waiting for voiding. Examples are the bladder, the urethra, okay? The bladder and the urethra, you know, in the urethra, as the child keeps on growing, this tissue should keep on stretching so that it accommodates this child that is growing in it. All right, so this is where we end this presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. I'll see you in the next presentation. Goodbye.